$2 million. For most Australians, that massive number feels like an absolute fantasy, right? It's just something you only ever see on a spreadsheet, never in your actual bank account. But for a growing number of Australians, this is real life. And what it actually looks like day to day, well, it might surprise you. So today in this explainer, we are pulling back the curtain. What does it really feel like to retire with a $2 million portfolio in Australia? What does your daily life actually look like? How much can you genuinely spend? And here is the big one. Is $2 million even enough anymore? Stick around, because the answer isn't what most people expect.
Having this much money sitting there changes the equation entirely. But to really understand what this number actually delivers day to day, we need to take a look at exactly where it places you in the grand scheme of things.
Section 1. The 2 million reality, setting the scene. Okay, let's start with some cold, hard numbers. According to the latest ATO figures, the average Australian superannuation balance for those aged 60 to 64 sits at $413,700 for men and $327,400 for women. So, if you've managed to build a $2 million portfolio, you are not just ahead of the pack, you're literally in an entirely different race.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Having $2 million doesn't necessarily mean you're rich in the traditional sense. What it means is you have options. And options, as any experienced investor will tell you, are the true currency of retirement. It's the absolute freedom to choose how you spend your time, where you live, and maybe most importantly, what you say no to.
Section 2. Breaking down the math. What $2 million actually delivers.
Let's break down what $2 million actually gives you in today's Australia. If you follow the widely used 4% rule, meaning you withdraw 4% of your portfolio in year one, then adjust for inflation after that, you're looking at $80,000 a year. Now, here's the part most people just don't realize. If you're over 60 and drawing from super, that income is generally entirely tax-free. So that's 80 grand in your pocket, no tax taken out. That alone puts you way ahead of plenty of working Australians who earn the exact same gross amount but take home far less once income tax, the Medicare levy, and other deductions are stripped away. Now, you might be wondering about the age pension. At $2 million in assets, you won't qualify, not even for a part pension. The cutoff is roughly $720,000 for a single homeowner and just over $1 million for a homeowner couple, so $2 million sails well past both. But you would likely still get the Commonwealth Seniors Health Card because that's income tested rather than assets tested, and that unlocks cheaper prescriptions, bulk bill doctor visits, and reduced utility bills. It's a fantastic perk.
Section 3. A day in the life, pure lifestyle money. So, what does daily life actually look like on $80,000 a year? Now, the key assumption here is that your family home is fully paid off. If you still owe $500,000 on a house, this entire equation changes, obviously. But let's say the family home is clear. That $80,000 becomes pure lifestyle money. You wake up on a Tuesday, no alarm. You have your coffee slowly. Maybe you walk the dog along the beach or through your local park. You check your portfolio, not out of anxiety, but because it's kind of become a fun hobby. You watch the dividends trickle in. And when the market inevitably dips, you don't panic because you've smartly built a buffer. 2 years of living expenses just sitting there in cash or a high-interest savings account.
When we break down the costs, you eat well, you're not clipping coupons, but you're not wasteful either. You travel domestically a couple of times a year, maybe a week up in Noosa, a trip down to Tasmania, and every second year an international trip. Total travel budget, somewhere around $12,000 to $15,000 a year, and you are perfectly comfortable with that. Health insurance runs you about $4,000 to $5,000 a year for a decent hospital and extras package. Groceries, utilities, car maintenance, council rates, all the unglamorous stuff eats up maybe $25,000 to $30,000. And you still have plenty left over for gifts, hobbies, dining out, and the occasional splurge. At year's end, there's still money left over.
That's the reality. It's not a champagne lifestyle where you're flying first class to Paris every month, but it is comfortable, dignified, and totally stress-free. And honestly, for most people grinding away at work, this level of peace represents the ultimate dream. Section 4. The hidden retirement risks. Pattern break.
But hey, let's pause and talk about the risks. Because this isn't a fairy tale, and there are very real threats to your wealth. First up is sequence of returns risk. Second is inflation, which, even though it's come down from its peak, is currently around 3.8%. And will steadily erode your purchasing power over a 25 to 30-year retirement. And third is the unpredictable wild card of escalating health and aged care costs.
Let's look at sequence of returns risk. In plain English, if the market crashes in your first few years of retirement and you're withdrawing money at the exact same time, your portfolio can take a hit it literally never fully recovers from. This is exactly why smart retirees keep 2 to 3 years of living expenses entirely in cash or near cash. You do not want to be forced to sell shares in a downturn just to pay the electricity bill. You have to insulate yourself from the market's mood swings.
We also have to talk about aged care. With recent reforms to Australia's aged care system, where support at home has replaced home care packages, costs have shifted significantly. Providers can now charge massive sums, sometimes up to $758,000 for a room without government approval. Residential care can eat through your carefully planned savings much faster than you might have anticipated.
Section 5. Structure and Emotion, the Architecture of Wealth. So how you actually structure your 2 million dictates exactly how hard your money works. Having money inside super gives you those amazing tax-free earnings once you transition to the pension phase. But having money outside super, like in an offset account or a taxable brokerage account, gives you critical flexibility if you want to retire before you hit preservation age. Combining these two is an absolutely crucial strategy that many people completely overlook.
Financially speaking, $2 million puts you nearly 3 times above the ASFA standard for a comfortable retirement, which currently sits around $730,000 for a couple. So you've won the financial game. You have more than enough to be comfortable. But, as we all know, money alone doesn't solve everything.
Here's this psychological twist. Many retirees experience a severe loss of identity without the rigid structure, the colleagues, and the daily purpose of work. It can be incredibly disorienting. The retirees who genuinely thrive are the ones who use their wealth to fuel a life they built outside of work long before they retired. They volunteer, they mentor, they stay connected to their community. The true magic happens only when financial security meets personal purpose.
$2 million buys you freedom. It buys you the ultimate luxury, the ability to choose exactly what your retirement looks like. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, compounding thought. It's not just about the money you're saving. What kind of fulfilling life are you building outside of work right now?